I'm going to convert this apple crate into a self-watering veggie bed by using these really clever cells. These can convert any pot, planter or veggie bed into a wicking bed. Because these apple crates are pretty deep, we've had to raise up the base of them using some rubble and some leftovers because we want the WaterUp cells to sit 30 or 40 centimetres below the soil surface. And this will allow the plant's roots to wick up the moisture that they need from the water reservoir below that we're about to create. So let me show you how we install these and turn this into a wicking bed. Now, even though we have created a completely level base for these apple crates, to make sure that the water reservoir is completely level, we've put in about this much soil at the bottom, and we've used a level just to really level it out before we lay in the black plastic liner, which will actually create the reservoir that we need. So to create the reservoir that's going to hold the water for our wicking bed system, I'm using this black plastic liner to line the base of our apple crates. It's a bit of a wrestle to get into place, and some neat tricky folds are required for the corners, but once it's in place, it's actually really easy. You might want to ask someone to help you for this stage. Once it's in and I'm happy with its position, then all I need to do is use a staple gun around the top edge before I trim off the excess. Now, obviously, if the container that you're using is already watertight, you can skip this step. Yeah. All right, now to use the WaterUp cells. So each cell has 4 little pockets at the base that you can see, and each one of these gets filled with perlite, but not just yet. First, we need to put these together across the base. The great thing about these is that you can cut them to size if needed, so long as we make sure that we're not cutting through these little pockets. So for the base of this apple crate, if you look in, you can see that I can keep 3 full WaterUp cells, and then these 2 and the ones in the corners are going to need some trimming. You'll notice that each WaterUp cell has this circle, and that's because whatever planter or container or pot that you turn into a wicking bed is going to need an inlet point. And that's what this little snorkel is for. It's going to sit flush with the surface of the soil, and that's where you're going to add your water. So for this wicking bed I'm creating, my inlet point is going to be over here, and we will make sure that is connected before we backfill it with soil. You also need to cut out that little circular disc of plastic in the WaterUp cell. And on the opposite side of the inlet, we need the outlet or the overflow point. So that's what this little nozzle is for. It clips into the corner of any of the WaterUp cells, and we just drill a hole in the side of the apple crate to pass the little overflow valve out through. It's a new day now, and yesterday we finished off doing all the cutting we needed for the cells, which is super easy as you've seen. We also added in the overflow point, and everything is nice and snug and secure. So all we need to do now is pop the perlite into each of the little cells, and then we add the soil on top. Perlite is a natural volcanic mineral that's porous, lightweight and absorbs moisture. So it will help with the wicking process once it's in these feet that sit in the reservoir of water. Then once all the cells are filled with perlite, all you need to do is backfill with soil. I'm using a combination of soil that I took out of the old apple crate that I'm replacing, and some homemade compost as well as some bagged compost. You just want to make sure that it's filled right up to the top, because it will compact down a little as it settles. And then we're ready to plant into straight away. So I'm using a mixture of homegrown seedlings here and some store-bought ones. You can plant anything that you would like in these wicking beds. That 30 or 40 centimetre depth of soil is enough to grow a huge range of plants, including all sorts of different veggies and herbs. And even small fruiting shrubs and bushes are ideal in this type of setup as well. Settle in all your new plants with a good watering in from the top, and in about 1 to 2 weeks time you won't need to water from the top anymore and the wicking process will start. Don't forget to top everything off with some mulch. I love using organic sugarcane, and this will help to keep that moisture in the soil and also suppress weeds. Then all you need to do is fill up the reservoir completely. Once it overflows, you know it's full, and then you just pop the cap on. So I've had these apple crates converted into the wicking beds using the WaterUp cells now for 2 months, and I must say I am super impressed with this. This is a completely unsponsored post. Yes, WaterUps did give me the cells to try and have a play with, and I actually now want to convert the rest of my veggie beds. So let me talk you through a couple of the things that I'm really enjoying about the WaterUp cells and the wicking beds themselves. So the fact that I have had these beds for 2 months over summer, and yes, we haven't had the hottest summer, but we still have had some hot days. And in the 2 months that I've had these wicking beds set up, I have actually only refilled the reservoir about 3 times, maybe 4. But I've discovered that the veggies that are inside there are going gangbusters. My rhubarb normally sulks so much through summer, but its leaves are huge and its stalks are the fattest it has ever been. And it didn't even mind the transplant. The other thing that I have discovered in this bed is I planted some carrot seeds. Just standard carrot seeds. I spread them out like I normally would, and I've thinned them out once. But the thing with planting these carrot seeds in the bed is I haven't had to come out and water them every single day when they were germinating to get them to go. Literally planted them, watered them overhead maybe twice, and then the soil moisture from underneath was enough to keep that soil moist and therefore to get the seeds to germinate. So my carrots are rocketing along. And as a great almost side-by-side comparison, this zucchini here was planted at the exact same time as the zucchini behind me in a non-wicking bed, and the difference in the growth and the harvest that I've gotten from this zucchini is huge. So any of your water loving crops, anything that sulks a lot when it gets too hot over summer, 100% is going to be much happier in these wicking beds. I'm really impressed. Now, based on the seedlings that you saw me plant into this bed, this should be a lot fuller. We actually went away for a few weeks after I'd planted those seedlings, and this whole bed just got completely attacked by possums. They come down this tree and they use this as their little feast field. So everything virtually in here got eaten. My Thai basil survived and this zucchini survived, but everything else got completely eaten, which is just one of the problems with gardening sometimes. However, even though I've popped in some new beans, some spring onions, and some late cucumbers over here on the trellis, I'm still really happy with the progress of it. I'm actually also going to try a finger lime in this bed and just see how that goes, having a bigger plant in amongst some other veggies and herbs as well. So if you'd like to see how these wicking beds go over the next couple of months, particularly throughout autumn and winter, then make sure you're following me on social media or YouTube.